Marvel Snap's first official season, the Symbiote Invasion, is here. With it comes Miles Morales, a card that everyone will be able to get on day one of Marvel Snap's launch, which is just over 1 week's time. All you'll have to do is buy the season pass. Is he worth it? Let's get into it. Also with the Symbiote Invasion come 5 new locations, which I'll be getting into later in the week. So let's break down this card. At an energy cost of 4 with 5 power, his stat line is a little disappointing. A bit like the other Spider-Man. Peter Parker Spider-Man? Spider-Man 1? Just Spider-Man? However, Miles only costs 1 energy if a card was moved on the previous turn. That can be one of your cards or one of your opponent's cards. Now, there are a whole bunch of obvious synergies that will work with Miles, including in Pool 1, Nightcrawler and Doctor Strange, ranging up to Pool 2 and 3 cards like Cloak, Juggernaut and Arrow. It's worth noting real quick that Vision and Magneto will not work usually with Miles Morales, as Vision, if you play it on turn 5, you can't move it until turn 6, and Magneto, you play it on turn 6. Miles needs a card to have moved on the previous turn for it to cost 1. At 5 power for 1 energy, Miles can be pretty good. However, you're never going to be able to play Miles on turn 1, so looking at him as a 1-drop is a bit insincere. While he can be good to squeeze into a play on turn 4 along with a 3-drop or turn 5 or turn 6, I personally don't think that the 5 power is actually that impactful. Obviously, that's going to depend on exactly how many cards you have. If you're still early into the game collecting Pool 1 cards together, 5 power can be pretty significant. Yeah, he's probably amazing in Pool 1 played with Nightcrawler. However, by the time you've got a full collection up to Pool 3 and you've got so many different options available to you, whether that's Mr. Negative or Sarah decks or Wong or Death, etc., there are just too many good options. 5 power doesn't seem like that much. So theory crafting a little bit here, I was thinking you could potentially play Miles on turn 6 along with Doc Ock for 15 power hitting the board, your opponent maybe not expecting that. But is that really that much better than just playing Doctor Doom on turn 6 and playing 15 power across all 3 locations? I just think when you get to Pool 3, there are too many other good options. In fact, I think Miles will be a must-have for anyone planning on playing competitively with only the first selection of cards. It's just that in the late game, whereas Daredevil has its uses, it can combo with Professor Xavier, and Nick Fury can be pretty good with the Collector and Quinjet, etc., I'm struggling to see how Miles Morales can have serious utility. In the end, I think it's a card that you can play a lot early on in your Marvel Snap journey, but as you gather more cards, you're probably going to want to phase him out, especially nowadays when so many 4-drops like Rescue and even Jessica Jones have so many stats. Another synergy that's worth mentioning is Daredevil. You can use Daredevil to see what your opponent is doing on turn 5 to guarantee that your Arrow or your Juggernaut gets to move one of their cards, enabling Miles Morales on turn 6. Unfortunately, it is just a clump of stats. I'm going to go into this in a different video, but ultimately playing 5 power on turn 2, 3, 4, it's not really that relevant. If a card is cheap, you want to play it as late as possible to get that shock factor in, to overwhelm your opponent with stats when it's too late for them to retreat. It's not like Wong, Lockjaw, or Sunspot. These cards get a special benefit to being played early, because the earlier you play them, the more you can do with them. A card that's just pure stats doesn't have that advantage, so playing this on turn 2 or on turn 3 doesn't really have that much of an impact. In fact, if anything, the downside to playing this card too early is that your opponent knows that you're going to have a lot of stats and they're going to have more of a chance to retreat. Alternatively, if you play it early and they see you've got a lot of stats but know that they can still beat that, then they'll keep playing and beat you. So if you are going to play Miles Morales, play it as late as possible. As a slight counter-argument to everything I've just said, there is sometimes a benefit to getting lots of power out cheaply and quickly. For example, you could play Miles Morales along with a big 3-drop like Maximus on turn 4 and then jam Professor Xavier on turn 5 before your opponent really has a chance to match that power. It could be played with other weak cards that don't have much power to try to smooth things out for you, like Adam Warlock or Sandman. What I'm trying to say is that I don't think Miles Morales fits in a deck where you're just trying to jam in as much power as possible, because there are just better options. Mojo for 2 energy gives you a lot more power than Miles Morales does the vast majority of the time. Cards like Rescue and Jessica Jones are so well statted. If you're going to put Miles in the deck, it should be for a purpose that specifically requires a cheap card. Maybe you're playing it alongside other Spider-Man for the flavor.